Welcome to Wawasan Wire. Today we're talking about Tiong King Sing's strong defense and, well, the whole controversy surrounding the recent global travel meet event.
Yeah, it's a fascinating situation, isn't it? You have this major international event, clearly a big economic win on paper, but it gets completely tangled up in this one issue, serving alcohol.
Exactly. And the accusation was quite pointed. It came from Maz Ermiati, the member of parliament from Majitana. She claimed free-flow alcohol was served at a dinner she presented as, an official backed function.
Right, and the core of her claim was that this caused discomfort, leading to Muslim guests actually leaving the event early. That's a serious charge.
It is. But before we get into the back and forth, you mentioned the economics. Let's put that up front. What kind of success are we talking about?
We need to frame this properly. The estimate is that the global travel meet generated something like RM 420 million in economic benefits for Malaysia.
RM 420 million. Okay, that's a significant number. So that's the backdrop.
A huge backdrop.
All right, so Tiong King Sing pushed back hard. He released a very detailed statement. Let's unpack that. What was his absolute core defense against this idea that the government was serving alcohol?
Fundamentally, it boiled down to classification. He was adamant that the dinner, the specific function where alcohol was served, was not an official government event.
Not official. How so?
His argument was that it was entirely funded and organized by the private sector, industry players, sponsors. They apparently decided spontaneously to host this dinner for their international guests.
Okay. So the Malaysia Tourism Promotion Board, they hosted the main global travel meet sessions, the 2.5 days.
Correct. That was their official remit.
But not this specific dinner.
According to Tiong King Sing, no. The Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture's role in that evening event was defined quite narrowly. They were there to assist and promote the overall event context.
And they used it to launch something, didn't they?
Yes, exactly. That's where they leveraged the platform. They used the occasion to officially kick off the Visit Malaysia Year 2026 activity.
Okay, so they're launching a major government tourism initiative at this dinner. But what was their actual contribution to the dinner itself if they weren't hosting?
He was very precise about this. The minister stated that the ministry's contribution was limited to the artistic and cultural performances only.
Just the entertainment.
Just the entertainment. He stressed they provided none of the food and, critically, none of the beverages. That was all handled privately.
But here's the tricky part, isn't it? If the minister is there, the ministry is using the stage to launch a national campaign. Doesn't that give it a strong sense of official endorsement, regardless of who paid for the drinks?
That's the inherent tension. You're right. It's a valid point about perception versus, let's say, strict financial accounting. But Tiong King Sing tackled the money aspect directly. That seemed to be his main line of defense.
Also,
He made it absolutely clear 0 public funds were used for the alcohol, not a single cent of government money.
so in his view, that makes it a private matter.
Essentially, yes. A commercial arrangement between the private hosts and their international clients. He drew the line at treasury funds. If government money wasn't spent, it wasn't, strictly speaking, a government provision.
Okay. Let's shift to the other major claim, the alleged discomfort and Muslim guests leaving early. That touches on cultural sensitivity, a really big issue here. How did he respond to that part?
He dismissed it quite strongly, called it baseless rumors and essentially political pot stirring.
Strong words.
Very. He tried to counter that narrative of a mass exodus by offering a more practical explanation. He said the event naturally finished around 10 p.m. anyway.
Just the normal end time.
That's what he argued. He pointed out that many guests left then simply because the arranged transport, the buses, were scheduled to depart at that time. He even mentioned his own departure time as supporting evidence that things just wrapped up normally.
So no scandalized walkout, just people heading home.
That was his framing. He also clarified the timing of the alcohol service itself.
Oh. What did he say about that?
He emphasized that it wasn't served right from the start of the dinner. It was only brought out later in the evening.
And why was that detail important?
Well, his point was that it was provided only at the specific request of international attendees. He used this to argue it showed a degree of consideration, catering to global guests eventually, but not making it the focus from the beginning.
Right. And he also tried to place this whole thing in a bigger global context, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He essentially said providing alcohol at large international banquets like this is, well, common practice. That was his term.
Implying Malaysia needs to align with international norms if it wants to play on that stage.
Precisely. The underlying message seemed to be, If you want the RM 420 million revenue, you need to accommodate widely accepted international hospitality standards. But he did add that non-alcoholic options were plentiful, ensuring everyone was catered for.
Okay, now let's get to the political sharp end of his statement. He didn't hold back in his criticism of the MP, Masar Miadi. What was his issue with her approach?
He accused her, essentially, of misapplying serious principles. He criticized what he saw as a tendency to invoke the federal constitution prematurely, especially in situations involving private activities, not official government functions.
Saying it confuses people.
Yes, that it muddies the waters, confuses the public, and, he suggested, shows a misunderstanding of where the government's role begins and ends.
And he also issued a warning, quite a stark one, about the potential damage of these kinds of internal disputes playing out publicly.
He did, and this really broadens the issue, doesn't it? He explicitly warned that blowing incidents like this out of proportion creates doubt internationally. It damages confidence.
He actually asked that rhetorical question, didn't he?
Yes. Who would dare come to Malaysia?
Right.
His point was that this kind of internal criticism, when exaggerated, could actively harm the country's image and economy.
So basically accusing critics of undermining the national interest for political gain.
That's the strong implication. He went further, advising critics to look outwards. He mentioned Central Asian and Middle Eastern countries, noting that even they adopt more, let's say, open and inclusive approaches to attract global tourism dollars.
He's arguing for pragmatism over what he sees as inward-looking politics.
Exactly, an internationally appetitive mindset versus, in his view, insular political maneuvering.
And what was his final piece of advice or instruction aimed at the MP?
He urged her to shift her focus, to concentrate on, substantive policy matters, things like driving real economic growth, using tourism for jobs and foreign exchange, and actually getting behind the Visit Malaysia Year 2026 campaign.
He even reminded her about her role in promoting tourism in her own area, didn't he?
He did, specifically mentioning her constituency, and then he delivered that final punchy line.
The one about political relevance.
That's the one. He suggested critics should offer constructive policy ideas instead of, and this is a direct quote translation, exploiting alcohol footage just to resurrect their fading presence.
Wow. Okay, that is drawing a very clear line in the sand. It's politics versus what he frames as practical economics for Malaysia.
Absolutely. If you step back and look at the whole statement, the message seems to be, when the goal is attracting global business and that huge RM 420 million figure, internal political arguments need to be constructive, fact-based, not, as he sees it, exploiting cultural sensitivities for political points.
It really forces a question about balance, doesn't it? Where does government responsibility end, especially in a diverse country like Malaysia that's actively seeking more global engagement?
It's the classic tension between upholding local values and sensitivities and the pragmatism required to compete on the world stage for tourism and investment.
A critical question, especially with Visit Malaysia Year 2026 on the horizon. This whole episode really highlights that ongoing challenge.
It certainly does.
Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.